Dr. Kenneth Aguda of Alps Hospital, welcome, and Saratu Kasim of Fertility Support Group. It's going to be quite informative. Like I said, we have our distinguished panelists who are here to do justice to this topic on navigating fertility issues and career goals. Why are we having this conversation? Why is it important for us to have this conversation at this particular point in time? We realize that oftentimes it is thought that, particularly with women, that we cannot have it. You either choose the path of being a career person, or you choose the family way. But very recently, we see women glass ceiling. There's a clamor for harnessing the potential that women can bring to the table when it comes to professionalism. And also with the recent change since COVID, the change in the nature of work that is going on that we're witnessing now, we know that work is going to change. There's no distinction between work and life. You know, they say work-life balance. Your life is your work is, they're so interwoven these days. And so it's important that people understand fertility, not just for males, for females, also for males. We've had conversations with conversations to other people. You know, there's so much to learn. In fact, it's useful for parents to know. Nowadays, you find children at less than 10 years, you know, for young girls, their period is coming early, they are maturing quicker, maybe because of the information age, you know, young people are more aware. What that means is if women are born with a finite number of eggs, that means that menopause is going to come early. And then as students goes on strike, they don't finish school on time and they have to finish school before they get married, or if they get married, they can't continue. So many issues. How do we navigate that? What choices can we begin to make early? You know, knowledge helps us to make informed decisions. And so the more knowledge we have, the better choices we can make. And so I'm not the expert here. I have two experts. Just a brief background on our two panelists that are here on the conversation. We have Dr. Ken Aguda, and we have who is a consultant and an obstetrician, gynecologist. He's an IVF specialist. He is a minimal access surgeon, a laser gynecological surgeon, a medical practice developer, and a leadership and management consultant. He's trained in England, Bulgaria, Italy, Spain. He actually pioneered the practice of IVF in Plateau State, in Adamawa, in Kano, and Kaduna states. He's the chief medical director of Alps Hospitals and Diagnostics, and he holds the record of Africa's oldest first-time delivery mom at the age of 63 through IVF. There's so much to say about what Dr. Ken has done in the practice of medicine. You know, even his involvement with the West African College of Surgeons, and also his passion is bridging the medical gap that exists between Africa and the rest of the world. And that speaks to the level of technology that he employs in his facility. He is the convener of Africa's premier nonprofit forum, the Emergence Platform, which is a campaign dedicated to spreading ideas that challenge the norm of mediocrity and on the continent and help birth a new Africa. and it has engaged thousands of students in tertiary institutions across Africa. He has been compared with the likes of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and Obafemi Awolowo of Nigeria. He is a recipient of many awards. You can see them behind him. His video is turned on, across Africa and Nigeria. And Saratu, on the other hand, is also a passionate fertility coach. She's an advocate for women's maternity issues. She actually founded the Fertility Support Awareness and Aid Initiative that addresses fertility awareness and maternal mortality in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. She also curates a fertility support group, Africa, which is a Facebook group with over 1.2 million members on Facebook. And Saratu has helped me a lot in providing information and guidance. I'm not going to tell her story. She will tell her story, but she's one person that I know is so passionate, so dedicated to helping people with fertility issues. She shares knowledge, she shares support, she does so much for people. So there you go. You have our panelists, our experts. They are the experts. I'm going to give them, 5 minutes each to share their personal stories, what they've done, their thoughts on the topic, and then I will ask some questions as they talk. It will also give you room to ask your questions. So feel free, if you have any question, put the question in the chat box. Before they come online and start their own presentation, may I ask everyone here, if you can, turn on your video, say a good, a hello, so we can see your face. Also, let's know that we're all here, we're on the call. If you can, turn on your video and give us a hello. Just wave hello if you can. Let's see where you're joining from. Thank you, Fanny. Hello. Thank you, Abdul Samad. Thank you, Ngozi. Thank you, Omoleye Ojo. Thank you. Hi. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. All right, fantastic. Let me hand over the microphone and put the spotlight on Dr. Kenneth Eguda as he gives his own thoughts on the topic. Please, Dr. Ken, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Kate, thank you for having me on this platform. It's something that's very passionate to me, and I deal with women. I live in the world of women, so I kind of think like women sometimes, and sometimes I feel the pains they go through when they share their stories, and that affect a lot of things that we do and the way we act sometimes, So when I was called upon that I'm going to be a panel on this platform, talking about fertility preservation, how to balance career and family life for an individual, it was very, I found it very interesting. And I felt that I could share a whole world of experience, with whoever is found on this platform. I don't know, I can just go ahead and talk a little about the life of a woman and why career is important. As gynecologists, for instance, we're trained to respect the reproductive rights of a woman. In fact, we have the 10 commandments of the reproductive rights of women. And one of the commandments that stands out to me is that a woman is free to get pregnant anytime she wants to get pregnant, however she wants to get pregnant, with whom she wants to get pregnant, and all of that. And also, she is also free to benefit from any form of technology that satisfy her desire for her feminine life. So we all have to respect that. And then, of course, we see today we are in the realm, rather, we are at a point where we have a civil or social evolution, and we're living almost in a world where women are equal to men, and we all have to respect that. And then a woman has to be respected in every form of respect, whatever respect means to anyone. Okay. So the issue now is most times you have women, going into career, and they want to get to the peak of their career. They want to get to the peak of their academic pursuits, and occasionally they lack the knowledge of what it takes to still maintain and preserve their female, life. I'm talking about fertility pursuits. And so they achieve one at the expense of the other. That becomes a big problem, that becomes a really big problem. And I think that's what we're going to set out to balance, and how to encourage those who find themselves in this sphere of life, on how to go about balancing it. I won't say much until I'm called upon. I'd like to hand over the mic now to Saratu, so we could get your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ken. Saratu, for laying the foundation on women's rights. And this is a very good foundation. We can take it to the next level. But let's hear Saratu's thoughts on the matter.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Kate, for having me. It's really a honor and a privilege to be here. My name is Saratu Kasim, and I said Fertility Support Group Africa because it was to share my knowledge on infertility and to bridge the knowledge gap regarding infertility in Africa. I got married just like every other person with the hope of just getting pregnant, but I didn't know that infertility was something else, because nobody ever talks about it. You don't know until you're in that shoes. So during my journey, I realized there's a lot of stigma, pressure, and unnecessary stress women go through to have children. And apart from that, there's a financial burden and also so many issues. So when I had my daughter, I decided to create a community to address these problems and the challenges we face as women together. So FSG was created to bridge the gap between doctors and patients in terms of education, because there's so many information that we don't know. Our doctors don't have the time to actually tell us the things that would help us. Somebody that's already started your fertility journey late, and then the doctor keeps wasting your time. Go and do one, go and do two. He keeps taking you here and there. So one of the things we do actually is to bridge this gap between the doctor and the patient through education. And we also do community support, where we offer women a safe space to be themselves without the fear of being judged. They can express how they feel. They can talk about themselves. They can talk about their fertility journey. They can seek advice. They can get information and so many things. So those are the things we basically do in FSG Africa. And when it comes to career goal and fertility, there's so many things we're not aware of, so many things that would have saved us lots of tears in the future. If only we have this information, would help us. One of the things we do is to create awareness as well. So thank you, Kate, for having me. I'll just allow the conversation to flow.
All right. Thank you, Saratu, for laying that foundation. In fact, one of the things that prompted this, personally, was that speaking with different doctors and all that, one key thing is the absence of information, because nobody, our culture is silent on so many things, like even sex education for people. I think every parent needs to know and understand this so that we can better prepare children. All we know as kids is that our parents just say, get married early, get married. If you marry too early, you have children too early, it poses its own challenges. If you wait till late, it poses its own challenges. And so you don't even know what to do, what to take, how to eat. So many questions left, to chance. And so I find a lot of women, every time I have the conversation with women, there's always, it's like even with the medical practitioners, it's like a trial and error. We have resorted to YouTube doctors and what they say, and then you go on, oh my God, I have listened to so many thoughts, and this person will say take this, another person will say don't take this, and on and on and on. Those are some of those challenges that people have. I'm hoping that by the time we finish this webinar, at least someone would have some confidence, or would know where the knowledge gaps exist, and will try to bridge those gaps. But let me ask a few questions. We had some questions that people asked when they registered that we would get to at the end of the session, but I just want to ask a few questions. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, Sarah, too, because you are from the north, you're a Muslim. Your experience is work from Kano for 4 years as a gynecologist. So, and about issues, particularly for northern women, because in my experience, it's a region where the conversation is least had, and where there are several problems as well. So just strike a balance from what you do now, and I know that there are also religious perspectives on all that. But what are your thoughts on navigating these conversations about family planning in the workplace? Because certain places of work would, if a woman were to get pregnant, she would lose her position or her job sometimes, and so that influences career decisions. And so some women choose family planning and all that. I know Catholics do not believe in family planning. Also, I don't know what Islam says. I'm sure you would educate us. But where do you strike the balance, when you're having children and you don't want to have there's a limited number of children you want to have, or when you're trying to have children and, the information and the support, with workplace decisions? Just let me know your thoughts on that.
All right, thank you very, very much. Like I'm coming from a background of infertility. I stayed so many years, so I understand the pain of wanting a child. And then when God has blessed me, you now say it's not allowed in the workplace or what. For me, I personally though I see issues like situations like that, I ask the people, what do you truly want? It's not about the workplace. The decision lies with the woman who is going through the particular challenge. Is she willing to look for better options? Because I feel there's always a choice. We might think that there's no choice, but when we look deeper, there's always a choice. I always tell people, you need to look deeper and see, what do you want? You might want to take, 3 to 4 years, or 3 years, 5 years, and plan and say, okay, I'm going to be here for this particular period of time, and I will no longer do that. Not only in terms of fertility, even for somebody who is trying to conceive, even if it's allowed and the work is very stressful and the stress is impacting on the person's fertility, I would also advise the person to, you plan your time, plan a particular, what can you do because you have to see which one is priority for you. Is it the work? Is it the childbearing? And if I know both are very, very important, but then when you plan and say, for so years, I'm going to try to work hard, and then for the rest of the year, I'm going to just say, okay, I'm not going to I'm going to plan it around my leave. But when it comes to family planning, I always advise natural fertility methods, because for me, I've seen a lot of people be on the pills and they don't come back from it. Personally, I work with a lot of women and I see people going through infertility, especially PCOS, as a result of pill-induced PCOS. And when you look at different hormonal contraceptive methods, these methods actually have effects for some people. Different people react to them in different forms. So I pick natural fertility methods, which has to do with tracking your fertility, your ovulation, and when you're most fertile and when you are not fertile. But when it comes to Islam as a religion in terms of planning, it is Islamically, the woman is given 2 years to nurse. It's allowed to plan Islamically. There's no way said that you plan, you should have children. And I think even though in the north, most of the northern culture are actually in that the people misinterpret the Islamic culture. There are some cultures that are actually affected.
Okay. Sorry, I lost connection. Saratu? Is Saratu on or did we lose her?
We lost her.
Okay. Well,
Yes, please.
okay, we seem to have lost Saratu. So depending when she gets back, we know how erratic the connection can be. Dr. Ken, what are your thoughts on planning when it comes to family, career, and fertility?
So I kind of pick up from where Saratu stopped. I have worked in Kano State, for instance. I pioneered IVF in Kano State, so I've dealt with a lot of Muslims. I've seen a lot of Muslims also in FCT Abuja, and one thing that's very obvious is that aside from being a Muslim, even the Christian ladies do not always realize that the number of eggs that a woman has finishes. Now, let me give you a little background. When a lady, a female is born, she's born with about 400 to 400,000, 700,000 number of eggs. And then when she starts menstruating every month, she loses about 1,000 eggs. So you can imagine from menstruation, a woman loses 1,000 eggs every month. So these eggs, as you mentioned earlier, they are just a fixed number of eggs. They don't multiply like the way the sperms are formed every day in the body of a man. So a woman gets to an age where she has no eggs or no good eggs to achieve pregnancy, to achieve pregnancy. And now you see a good number of these Muslim ladies marry at very advanced age. One, they may have changed a husband, or they're going into a second marriage or a third marriage at 40 or something, and then at that point, they don't have necessarily good eggs. So for those of us who are reproductive biologists or fertility specialists, for instance, they come at you and then they're not willing to accept egg donation, okay, which is okay, it's a religious thing, okay? And so what we do in Kano was this, like 5 years ago, we started a special kind of treatment where we make women begin to regrow eggs, even at a very advanced age. So we offer them IVF, for instance, with PRP treatment, where we inject platelet-rich plasma that is produced from their blood, inject into their ovaries. So it gives them opportunity at very advanced age to achieve pregnancy by any means with their own eggs. So it's good for women to know that on this platform, when we talk about fertility preservation, we're looking at how a woman can preserve her fertility, irrespective of her religion, and still achieve her fertility potential even at an advanced age. But now you see the catch is this. When they were young, they have good eggs, very good eggs in huge numbers, huge good numbers. But when they advance in age, the eggs get poor or they don't have eggs anymore. What happened to all these eggs? Sometimes we go into the pursuit of academics, pursuit of profession, and all those other cause of infertility, but then the eggs keep wasting. So I feel women should actually start considering the possibility of freezing their eggs, so they can use their eggs without having to go into the thought egg donation, which is not acceptable in some religion. So I guess Saratu is back. When they have to go into family planning, for instance, what do you have to consider? At what age are you going into family planning? You you may not need family planning when you are thinking of getting pregnant and you're 37 years, for instance, because at those points you have barely few or no good eggs. So when going into family planning and you're in a career or you have a religion, it's good to bring your religious perspective and your career perspective before the gynecologist and have a very good and robust discussion so that your religion, your faith, your career and prospects in life can be captured into the planning of conception or family planning, for instance. So nobody is cheated at the end of the day.
Wow, thank you very much, Dr. Ken. There were certain things you talked about you talked about two key areas of fertility preservation. You talked about PRP, platelet-rich plasma, and freezing of eggs. So hold that thought. I'm going to come back to you on that. But let me hear from Saratu. Saratu went off while she was still speaking. Saratu, would you want to conclude your thought on family planning? Because now I'm asking the question, at what age do we start to plan? Family planning, is it just taking contraception because we don't want to have children immediately? I think family, just like career planning, starts from the decision that you make, isn't it? What course am I going to study? What do I want to be in the future and all that? We plan for career, we plan for success, but planning for family, how we raise our kids, how we bring our kids into the world and how we raise them, is I don't think I think maybe because of the medical term family planning, I don't know, but I think that was where Saratu was going before we lost her. So maybe you can lay that matter to rest. When should people start planning for family? Is it when you have gotten married or before? At what point should young people, there are a good number of young people on this call right now, when should we start planning? And planning in what context?
Thank you so much. I came in, I met Dr. Ken talking about PRP and egg freezing. But before egg freezing, if you look at over the years, there's a decline in fertility all over the world, especially in this part of the world. You see that there's so many things that actually we do today that impact on our fertility. You see, our lifestyle is not the way it used to be before, the way we're raised. Our parents were much more fertile than us today. When you look around, a lot of people are struggling with infertility, and this has to do with the kind of things we eat, the kind of life we live, the things we put in front of us. And one of the things I've seen over the years, when we look at it, starts from even our period, tracking our period, seeing when our period is normal, when it's not normal. In this part of the world, we see painful period, normal period. So when somebody is going through painful menstruation as a young girl, we think it is normal because she's not yet ready to have a family. So there's nothing wrong with that. We should start. If a woman wants to have children and she knows that, yes, I want to be a mother, because it's everybody's instinct. In this part of the world, I know some people can, by choice, feel that they don't have children. That's their decision. But maturation these days is very, very early. So even as parents, what we give our children is very important. And one of the core reasons for decline today, apart from age, yes, we know that age impacts our fertility, but there are other things that also impact our fertility. Look at environmental toxins. So if a woman is older, the years she has to, the exposure of the eggs have been, the number of years these eggs have been exposed to toxin is there as well. But if we start trying to clean, I work with a lot of people who are even above 40 and who have even natural. So if you start looking at the diet from the wrong age to even correct the menstruation, you will see that things go well. It's better for us and it will preserve the fertility better. That's number one. You look at lifestyle choices. What are the decisions these young people are supposed to have? Like I said, if you have painful period, you would need to evaluate why you're having your periods, painful or irregular menstruation. These are very, very important things. And when we look at people having issues like that, and we're giving contraceptive pills as young people to stop some of this period pain or period issues we're having, I don't think is a solution. Naturally, we look at things like seed cycling. Just taking normal seed and nutrient-dense food would actually help to preserve a young girl's fertility. Dr. Ken, I know PRP works, I know egg freezing. I think that's where my own, when it comes to fertility preservation, egg freezing. But before we get to that age of egg freezing, but from being a young girl, being a young person at the age of 20, 21, 23, 25, there's so many things you can do on your own to actually prolong your fertility. I hope I was able to answer the question. Sorry.
Yeah, you're quite correct. Let me just chip in some points.
Yeah.
Sorry, very good. Your points are very valid points. I love the points, and they are very, very real. Just you mentioned lifestyle. Lifestyle actually affects fertility in a lot of areas. The food we eat, the gadgets we carry around, and all of that. I watch a research with my son. It's about the phone, and then he's just a 6-year-old boy. And then, these days we have all kinds of gadgets, and the advanced ones are coming in day in and out. And so we have this research that was, was done from Australia, Western research, and shows how phone damages sperm. So fertility is not just about, fertility is not just about females, it's also for males, how phone damages sperms, and then men carry the phones in the pockets a lot. And then these pockets is just close to the testicles. And then these phones have a lot of waves they emit and damages sperm. So, and it was found that a lot of men carrying phones in the pockets, for instance, have a lot of abnormal sperm. So I was in the kitchen trying to make tea for my son before taking him to school. I just put the phone into the pocket and I heard my son shouting, "Daddy, Daddy." I was like wondering, why are you shouting? He said, "Daddy, Daddy, your phone in your pocket, your phone in your pocket." And I realized that he understood the research he was watching with me. He's trying to help me to preserve my sperms, but then I have all the kids I want already. Yeah, but so that is it. These things affect the sperms. Stressful lifestyle, for instance, produce a lot of oxidative radicals that damage the sperms and damage the eggs at the same time. And the food we eat. For instance, nobody in Nigeria watch the kind of feeds that birds are fed with. It's observed that a lot of these birds are fed with estrogen-containing diets. And then you see a lot of girls these days, 8 years, 9 years, already beginning to grow breasts and grow menstruate at the age of 8, age of 9, which wasn't the case when our parents were growing up. That's because they've been fed a lot of estrogens, because no control over the diet that these birds are fed with. So I'm just agreeing with you, Saratu. The food we consume, the lifestyle, all affect fertility. So if we have to preserve fertility, we have to eat healthy. We have to have healthy lifestyles. A lot of young boys and girls are given phones. And then when you give them phones and they want to play games, phones are still online. The phones is around the private parts, and it showers a lot of radiation. So we're looking at the future, for instance, when you have a lot of young boys with abnormal sperms and cannot make their spouse pregnant, the normal way, in future to come. So yeah, lifestyle really have to be addressed, and there is no substitute for addressing lifestyle. We have to get it right before talking about the big thing like egg freezing, which is at the end of the tunnel, and all of that. So yes, thank you, Sarah, too. Lifestyle and the diet, very important.
Dr. Ken, just to add to what you just said, if you look at these days, the level of ovarian insufficiency, premature ovarian insufficiency, number of young girls suffering from premature ovarian insufficiency, it's so high. I see a lot of people who are even less than 25. You stimulate some people, the responses are also very bad. Even when you get to, even when they are trying to freeze the eggs. So it's a good thing we start talking about lifestyle and diet, and also start even implementing, not just talking about it, and also doing what we preach. It's one thing to know those things, it's another thing for us to implement, because we see them as insignificant, but it is very, very real. And when we look at fertility preservation, we're talking about females, what about the males? We can also preserve the sperm. Why should we wait also? Because if a young guy at this age has maybe the abnormal sperm at this age, the little you can get, you can preserve it now, because it might even go to a sperma later. with no sperm. So when we look at preserving the female fertility, we also talk about preserving male fertility, because it takes two to tango. You need a good sperm. Even if you have the eggs available, if there are no sperm to fertilize them, then that's the problem. Presently, I have a sister who has embryos collected, but there are no sperm to fertilize the embryos. So they are just there. But that wasn't, sorry, the eggs, that wasn't the intention in the first place. The intention was to collect these follicles, fertilize for IVF. But till now, we're yet to get the sperm, because they went ahead without thinking, without even assessing the man, because he has done previous investigation, thinking that there were sperms.
It's interesting that you say that, Saratu, because I come across people like that as well. Oftentimes, you see our culture, once marriage has happened, the pressure, the spotlight is on the woman. You don't want to give your husband children. There's no, you're not starting early. Why are you like this? So oftentimes society puts a lot of pressure on the women. And I'm happy that we are addressing these issues now. In fact, I banned the young men in my office from drinking Coke and Fanta, because you see them every single day. They feel like, oh, they're still young, you know. And I see a comment in the chat group. Umahani Amin says the Quran does not prohibit birth control, nor does it prevent child spacing. It has actually been recommended according to some hadiths of the Prophet. So I think, you know, this topic should be incorporated in, this is what we should be teaching children from secondary school age. We started having this conversation, you know, with my daughter as well, because she's at that age where she's becoming. And so we're having these conversations on what it will be like for her, you know, and now children ask questions, not like before we just do as we're told. They want to know why. And so not just for us in the work, for some of us, we're already either at the peak of our career or we're too far gone. But what about the young people? In my office, I have so many NYSCs. There are about 9 of them or so in my office. And so at this age, we're talking about egg freezing, we're talking about checking. If we do a poll now and we ask the young men, how many of them have ever gone to analyze their sperm before? If we say yes, no, for privacy, we won't ask them to put it in the chat group. But if we ask this question, you will see that fertility awareness at that age is very, very low. And that's why we're talking about this. You've also talked about in your questions, a question I wanted to ask about misconceptions regarding balancing career goals and fertility, but you people have addressed the issue. So let me hear, you've also shared some personal experiences, but can we have some of your personal experiences, particularly, you know, Dr. Ken, you've worked in Kano for a long time, and we are based in Abuja. I think people are more aware, more enlightened. How can we address these issues, you know, especially with the educated, you know, enlightened people? The ones that are not educated, they tend to start very early. In fact, actually in the north, we have the reverse is in the case. It is more the case. But, you know, can you share some of the experiences that you've had with both successful you know, experiences with these fertility issues, particularly with career people, and also some that have not been successful, and why, just so that we can also learn from you. So who wants to go first? Dr. Ken and then Saratu. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for the question. From personal experience consulting, and by the way, I've been doing IVF for about 17 years now. You know, I've worked in Kano for like 5 years. I've been working in Jos for quite a while, and I started all the work in Abuja, and also have some foreign experiences too. So dealing with professionals, for instance, you see, when somebody decides to be a professional, you know, sometimes you get so consumed with the profession that maybe education or even job career pursuit, you know. And when you are a high flyer, for instance, oftentimes, you may not have time to think about pregnancy. You want to achieve what you want to achieve before thinking about having babies. So you find out that most professionals who come to access fertility care are coming at a very advanced age. Call it 37, 38, 40 and above. And one misconception that they have is that they still have good eggs. And then you hear them saying often that I still menstruate. How can your test say that I don't have good eggs? So at this point, it's good to clear that you may be menstruating, but don't even have eggs or don't have good eggs. So menstruation and good eggs or ovulation are not one and the same. So they mean different things for different people at different ages in life. So the most challenging thing at this point is that when a woman is 37 years, for instance, over 70% of eggs that she has left in her body, in her ovaries, may not be in good states to achieving pregnancy. Then a good number come at 40, when you have just about 20 or 15% eggs that are still in good condition. So at that point, you start talking about egg donation and all of that, then it becomes a very big issue for them. And then what pains me is that I constantly say nature is wasteful. How can a woman be born with close to 700,000 eggs? And then she needs the egg at the age of 37 or 40. And one gynecologist somewhere says she has no good eggs. That sounds very unfair, but then that is how nature is. So it's good for a woman who is in a career path to consider if a man or a partner is not around for conception or pregnancy matters, she may be considering possibility of seeking egg freezing. Sorry, I'm going back to egg freezing now, because at that point she's already advanced in age. And then in addition to living the healthy lifestyle, she may be looking at egg freezing because she may just get to a point where she has no egg, because that is a situation I find many of the career path women who come seeking for fertility care. And then based on the religion or culture or exposure, they may not be in the right frame of mind to accept the offer that guarantees a better chance with conception. And so it becomes a tussle. So for me, if a woman has a plan, she should carry all her life along. If there is no husband around the corner, she may consider freezing her eggs. But if there is a husband around, she may want to pause and get pregnant or freeze her eggs so that she can take off her eggs at any point in time if her partner has good storms to achieve pregnancy. So that's what I think it will, because that is a very common challenges that I have seen among career women. So I'll stop at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Ken. Sarah, do you have any experiences you want to share before we take the questions? There are some questions in the chat group as well. So after Sarah is done, maybe Dr. Ken can respond to that. And then Sarah, you can from the natural perspective as well.
Okay, but at the same time, I think we can still do better, because even if we say fertility declines with age and the woman doesn't have any good eggs, you would stimulate a woman who is 40 and she might even respond better than a woman who is 35 or who is even 28. So I'm not saying that I believe a woman has a choice to say, I want to be stimulated first. If I don't respond, that's if she wants or chooses the path of donor egg. That is the more reason why we must advocate and create awareness for people to understand that the best option is to freeze your eggs. The first option is to preserve fertility and freeze your eggs before even the age of 35. I always advise, when I see young people, I tell them, even if they are not married and they can afford it, I tell them to go freeze their eggs. And I always say, because I work with a lot of people, and oftentimes I hear women say, I wish somebody told me that I should, if I had known, I would have done this. So it's very, very important for us to advocate for this as much as we can. This is a very serious issue. And for we as Muslims, where donor egg is not allowed, It's very, very important for us to do that advocacy. And I've started doing it, and I keep talking about it. Even though when you tell people, it's easier for them to say, if I had known. But once you're telling right now, they're saying it that the husband will come next month, he'll come another month, he'll come another month. And I think if we look at that preservation, even removes pressure from you to finding the right spouse. You can take your time and follow your career and not even rush or to say, I have to just pick somebody because age is not on my side. So it's very, very important for us to talk about the Please, can you hear me?
Yes, you said it's very important for us to talk about the...
Well, yes, it's important for us to talk about somebody calling me on the same phone. So it's really, really...
Oh, you were talking about egg freezing.
Apart from the egg freezing, when a woman comes at 40, I work with a lot of patients and I work with doctors as well. I think it's also not right if the woman wants to try. I've seen people who have used donor eggs several times and it has failed. So donor egg, in as much as is a better option for people who are older, it's not guaranteed that that person is going to get pregnant if we use donor egg. I've seen people who have done 5 straight donor eggs and it didn't work. I know we might say the issue doesn't have to do with the egg at that stage. We want to look at in the uterus and other things. But notwithstanding, I think working with people personally, when we do detoxification, when we talk about lifestyle and diet, when we talk about the things they need to do, even when you use donor egg, it's very, very important for us to advocate for this as well. So if a woman is 45 and then, yes, she comes to Dr. Ken, she doesn't know, okay, Dr. Ken can offer her PRP. Even with PRP, she still needs to work on her diet and her lifestyle as well as manage her stress level. And the first thing we're also missing when it comes to this part of treatment is even the education. Most of the people they don't know what is involved because everybody feels IVF. They just say you're not pregnant, go and do IVF. Everybody has an opinion regarding IVF. It's only when you have tested it, you now know that, oh, there's a lot of work and the back end you're supposed to tie together before you actually go for the IVF. It's another advocacy, It's another thing we need to advocate for as well. Very, very important for us to tell people what is truly involved. Most times you see people telling, doctors telling patients 50-50. See that the chances are 50-50. And they just, 50-50 is misleading. It's misleading to say the chances are 50-50 when it comes to IVF. And then when it comes to also egg freezing, if a lady gets married young and the man is going through male infertility, I think the woman should also be advised to freeze her egg, even if she's married. Because sometimes if you cannot get any sperm from the man, it shouldn't be. You see some women, they will follow this men all through for treatment. And then when the man, because men undergo mitotic division, while women is meiosis, go reduction division, while men is addition. And so our eggs are reducing and fertility is declining. The man undergoes addition. So mitotic division. So we should also advise those who are coming for male infertility treatment to also advise the wives to freeze their egg. I was talking with somebody that has insomnia and the wife is already 43. The wife is already 43 and they've been married for how many years? They've been married for more than 15 years. So I really felt pained on their behalf. I think doctors should also advise people who come in at this particular time also for the women, not only them. If the man has male factor and is taking so much and they can't get it, the woman can also be asked to freeze her egg at that particular situation as well. But like I said, we need to advocate and tell people what IVF truly means, what they are going into full time so they are prepared. Not just in terms of financial, because even if you return, what about the emotions? You can't pay people for the emotion. There's so much involved in terms of this. So I think if a woman is 40 and she's 45 and she wants to use her egg because her religion doesn't permit donor egg, she's already there. I think she should be stimulated. If it doesn't work, fine. She knows that she did her best and she will not look back and regret and say, what if? It's just for the doctor to tell the person that this is what is involved. If we stimulate and you do not respond, they don't have any option. It's none of the doctor's fault. But rather than just saying if it's no donor egg, there's no procedure, I think the person should be given a chance.
Thank you for chat. There's so many questions. The chat box is beaming with questions. So, Dr. Ken, before you respond, yes, Dr. Ken, before you respond, let me read some of the questions in the chat box so that you can weave the answers into your response because our time is fast spent. And normally this this meeting should not exceed, it should be for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So here there is Sadia Shaibu is asking what test is recommended to check how fertile one is. And then Eric is asking, how can men preserve their sperm? And then there's the question on what the stimulation process entails and what is the cost implication of freezing eggs. In fact, there's a comment there that the keyword here is if they can afford it, because now we're asking young people who are probably starting their career, they cannot afford it. I know freezing of eggs is not a cheap feat. So are there hospitals that are making considerations for young people? If I have a young person in their 20s or early 20s that would want to freeze their eggs now, their salary, they're probably at the bottom of their salary, or they are starting their career or business or whatever. How do the issue of affordability? And also, that's the comment that Ngozi made. She said the keyword here is if they can afford to freeze their eggs. What if they cannot afford this option? What other options are available to those who cannot afford it? Also, freezing the eggs doesn't necessarily mean it will work out when the person is ready to have kids. People have to be educated because they have this misconception. And there's a question, what are the disadvantages of freezing eggs? And then my own question, donor eggs. What about donor sperm? If the man has the problem now, is it okay to get donor sperm? So, let me give it a chance to answer. The questions are plenty.
Yeah, quite a number of questions. In the first place, it's good to have some statistics for the viewers to understand, or for members of this platform to understand, that in Nigeria, for instance, more IVF are done using donor eggs than IVF done using an individual's egg. And so we can't run away from the question or from the issue that a lot of people get married at a very advanced age where eggs are not very viable. In my facility, for instance, if we're doing 100 IVF in 1 month, 95 or 90% of those IVFs are with donor eggs. The reason is that even those who have these good eggs, who are young, may not have good eggs, just as Sarah was mentioned previously. And then you have a lot of young girls using a lot of cosmetics that are not healthy, with a lot of heavy metals on them. And so those things cause what we call, endocrine disruptor factors. And then they damage even eggs of young women so that it makes it difficult or impossible to achieve pregnancy. So yes, egg donation, it's very big, very important. We can't run away from it in any part of the world. Okay, so now when people come to do IVF, and the best option, in Africa, for instance, in Nigeria, monies are very important. These funds are not available. You see a woman who is loaning money to come and do an IVF, and then want to make a stupid decision before the consultant, before the doctor. And what decision is it? For instance, if you are 45 and you want to use your eggs for IVF, in my facility, it's whatever you sign, which is based on your culture, your religion, your civilization, and all of that we do. If you sign you're doing donor egg, we do not change it. We do donor egg for you. If you want to use your eggs even when you are 70 and you have the eggs, good. We'll try as much as we can, give you the best counseling. We may have to counsel you 10 times to make you see a different perspective. But if you endorse that you want to use your eggs, good and fine. We will go and do what you want us to do. Only hope for the best. At 46, for instance, it's only 1% chance of getting pregnant with your own egg at the age of 46. That's the world statistics. And that is what we observe here. So now a woman has borrowed money, wants to do an IVF. If it fails, she may not have opportunity to make another IVF. So what's the morale? What's the rationale? Taking a decision that may not guarantee you success. And then for a good number of women, they divorce the moment IVF fails. I have a lot of experience on this. I see my patients divorce because IVF doesn't work. So it's very emotional. So sometimes you feel like beating a woman up, for making stupid decision, but you can't change her decision, whatever reason she makes that decision. Okay, so yes, you prepare the woman, you do a whole lot of evaluation. You don't just do IVF without counseling. You correct things that need to be corrected in the body. You check the womb, you check all of that. Well, enough of IVF. Somebody asked here, what is the cost? Doing egg freezing, for instance, is like doing an IVF without transferring the baby into the woman's womb. Okay, so that's what it means. So it's like you're paying for an IVF with added cost of paying for freezing. And now the cost of freezing these eggs differ from one facility to another. So I can't even mention any price. But it will interest you that I will say at this point. I was discussing with a friend of mine from Europe last night. I'm going to be on a platform. What do you think? And I realized that even the European government sometimes made some of these companies that employ high-flying girls work to a very advanced age, and they are very dependent on them. They make allowance for them to freeze their eggs, and they pay for the freezing. Maybe as advocates of fertility preservation, we should make a case for our women so that the government or those private companies that employ these high-flying girls can make provision financially for them to also freeze their egg. Because population, if you get to understand, population is very important. It's power. Somebody asks, what is the complication? I won't say there are complications. If at all there are complications with IVF, it's still the same complication that goes with freezing of egg, because it's a minor procedure that will have to be done in the operating room. You know, so those are some of those. So the best time to freeze the egg is when you are less than 35. You know, because when you are above 35 and you're freezing eggs, you can as well be freezing bad eggs that may not give you good results. You know, so those are some of those things we need to. Yes, for sperms can be frozen till any point in time. You know. Recently, we have an embryo that was transferred after 32 years of freezing, and then they became pregnancy. So you can freeze eggs for a length of time. You can freeze sperms for that length of time. And then if your husband is that who doesn't stay in a place with you, you can deposit his sperms and you get pregnant and save up on your own time. So you don't get pregnant at an advanced age, because it's not all about pregnancy. It's about your health when you get pregnant. You know, then what sort of profession do you do? I work in the north, for instance. I see a lot of men who are farmers coming with a lot of abnormal sperms. The reason is this: they work with insecticide, with pesticide, and all the sites that's used in agriculture. So they have a lot of abnormal sperm that doesn't find it easy to make women pregnant. So I'm not saying you should change profession, but if you have to use these chemicals, please have minimal exposure to them. Don't spread these chemicals and stay in the middle of the chemical. Stay away from them, because they don't only affect sperm, they affect your health entirely. Also have an agro-allied driver. All your work is to transport agro-allied chemicals from the manufacturers to the consumers, coming down with poor sperms. So avoid bad environments. For ladies who have to go through cancer treatment, for instance, at a young age, it's also important to know that you may be considering a possibility of freezing your eggs, just because cancer treatment, whether chemotherapy or radiotherapy, affects your reproduction, affects the fertility, so they need to be preserved. So I won't say much. Maybe Sarah to have some things she would like to say at this point.
Sorry, I've not been going through the questions, but in addition to what you said in terms of lifestyle and endocrine disruptors, there are BPAs also from plastic, use of plastics. BPA, they've also been shown to impact on our fertility. And most of the things we do, we store our food in plastic, we eat our food in plastic. Even when you talk about even endocrine disruptors, in terms of everything we do, the water we drink is chlorinated. The food we eat, even the vegetables, when we say fruits and vegetables, they are pesticides. So how do we clean our vegetables and make them pesticide free? Then when you look at it, like I was talking about plastic, it's been shown to really impact on air quality. And most times we still our water, even plastic bottles, the juice, the water, the food, the spoons, the cups. And then when you talk about the things we eat, we use to cook, they are coated, our non-stick pots. they are quoted. So if you want to look at the whole thing, we are somehow not, it's not helping. The environmental causes are not helping. And so we're trying to preserve it's like fighting against us. So we must do everything humanly possible to cut down. We can't remove them all completely, but we can cut down on some of these things. Like you talk about skincare products. We have a choice to change and use healthy skincare, but not even for fertility alone. If you look at prevalence of issues, diseases, cancer, and other lifestyle diseases, once we're able to reduce exposure to most of these things and cut them down as much as possible, that is going to help us. Because egg freezing is not cheap. Even if you want to do it and you like to do it, what if you can't afford it? That's something we must look at. And then talking about PRP, a lot of people are not even aware about PRP and how PRP works. So Dr. Ken, I was really waiting for you to talk about PRP and what you did with PRP in Kano and the outcome, but I've not really had, because a lot of people don't know about ovarian rejuvenation, that it's here in Nigeria, because those centers that have it, there's monopoly. There's monopoly where the cost is very, very high among some hospitals, while in some places you see that the cost of PRP is actually, the difference is maybe ×5. So there's need for people to know what is available, what other options they have apart from the donor egg, because we've emphasized about donor egg and egg freezing, but we've not really talked about PRP. It's not like it's 100% guaranteed, but at least it's giving somebody hope rather than saying no hope.
I agree. Dr. Ken, can you touch on the PRP? Because there's a question on PRP and somebody's asking about, she says she heard that in some cases, she wants her eggs to be used and the eggs can be synchronized with, I think it's parallel, the one that they call parallel, where you use both donor and your eggs. So she's asking, Fanny is asking how effective that result is. But then I would also want you to really touch on the PRP. I know it's something that you do as well. Maybe for the women on the call, if there's any interested person, maybe Dr. Ken will give them at a discount. I know Saratu has many women, so if Dr. Ken will arrange a discount now, we will all rush, myself inclusive, we will come and come and do PRP with Dr. Ken. So please tell us about it. Dr. Ken, I think you're muted. We can't hear you. Please check your sound. We still can't hear you. I see you're talking, but we can't hear you. You see Nigerian network, wow. Now that we've talked about PRP, discount for PRP, Dr. Ken's volume has gone off. But we will hear from him today before we finish this webinar. Dr. Ken, you're muted. I don't know what's, let's just give him some time, but I'm not a doctor, Fanny, but there's the thing about parallel eggs as well. Actually, it is recommended, but maybe Saratu can touch on that before his sound is fixed.
Is it okay now?
Oh, yes, it's okay.
All right, thank you very much. What happened was that the battery of my device went off, so I have to switch to another one. Sorry about it.
That's okay.
So we do PRP, and usually it comes in for those who will not accept egg donation for any reasons, either cultural, spiritual, religious, or political reasons. Or some people will just want to have a conception with genetic connections, with their own gametes. So what happened in PRP is for those who are advanced in age with poor quality of eggs or who don't even have eggs, what PRP does is that it's like you're using a stem cell. It's a precursor to stem cells. It makes the ovaries to begin to function again, not originally the way it was, but improve the function or bring back some level of functionality to the ovary. And in this case, in production of eggs. So some quantity of blood, maybe about 10 mils, 15 to 20 mils, would be taken from the woman, and then a part of the blood containing the platelets is extracted, and then it's injected into the woman's ovaries. This can be done 1, 2, or 3 times, maybe at monthly intervals, and then she could be accessed and stimulated to produce eggs. For some women, this helps. They can conceive spontaneously without IVF if every condition is okay. For some, they may have to go to IVF if there are other reasons why they should have IVF. Then they can produce eggs by themselves and achieve pregnancy at very advanced age with their own eggs. So this is what PRP guarantees. Okay, so it helps women to achieve pregnancy with their own eggs. So we've done this a lot for women in the northern region of Nigeria, for whom egg donation is just inconceivable. And then we do the PRP for even men who have problems with sperms, quality of sperms or no sperms. And it helps some of them, not all, to produce sperms to achieve conception. So this is what PRP in summary is all about. And it will interest you that the world is edging towards PRP, even for the endometrial lining, the lining of the womb, where there are problems. You know, it helps implantation in IVF. For those who have done IVF and have failed several times, sometimes the problem may be with the lining of the womb. And so when you inject or instill PRP into the lining of the womb, it may cause changes that may help implantation to happen. So it could be used in that regard, in addition to improving the health of the vagina of a woman with respect to intercourse and all of that. So it could be used for men, it could be used for women, it could be used for cosmetics, it could be used for implantation aid, and it could be used to grow eggs. So yes, PRP is done, and we've been doing it for the past 5 years, and we've had some fair results with it. I must mention that not everyone succeeds with it, but it is a way to go if egg donation is a no-no for you, or sperm donation is a no-no, and people benefit from it. Yes, that's PRP.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ken. Saratu is smiling. Saratu is very skeptical when it comes to the way doctors are. So when you've spoken and she's smiling, I usually look out for her. Even when I speak to doctors in the hospital, I go back to her and check with her, because I've learned so much from her. And what you've said, our time is fast spent and we want to go. Dr. Ken, you didn't touch on the discounts, because Saratu has many women that would jump,
Okay, so
at the PRP. There's a discount that we will get.
What I said was this. What I was saying is this: for those on this platform, you can consider any benefit that you considered important for your people. It can be arranged by me or staff that work with me, you know, and then we have an outlet in Abuja, incidentally, you know, where some of those things are being done. And then we are already training facilities in Abuja. About 2 to 3 facilities have been trained. So we're hoping that with time they'll also begin to do. And we did some training today in Jos for a tertiary institution on PRP. And so we'll be glad to offer any discounts or any help for anybody who is indigent with respect to PRP.
Now, my team is going to put spotlight at stalwartconsults.com. If you're interested, there you go. If you're interested in knowing more about it, or if you're interested in the discount, we will, if we have a good number, we will arrange for Dr. Ken. If we have to bring him from Jos to help women, we will do that. Just send an email with PRP to Spotlight. We need your contact details so that we can collate all of them and inform you. He's based in Jos, but since he says there's an outlet in Abuja as well, or anywhere where you are, if there is sufficient number of people, he's passionate about Africa. And he's saying be specific on the discount. Sadia, don't worry. We will ensure that whatever it is, I think he's being careful with the volatility in the market. Now it's difficult to say we will give you this, and then diesel now goes up to a certain price and the cost of things go up. But I promise you, before the webinar, it was something that I had asked of him, and Dr. Ken made a commitment that, you know, as an market entry strategy, he's going to come and give a good discount. We will inform you of the discount if you send an email to Spotlight very quickly and we have a significant number. I am sure the higher the number, the
What did you say?
the higher the discount. Financial economy of scale, right? Economics of scale. So if there's a good number of people, the bigger number. So if you have friends and family who are interested, please, it will be worthwhile for him. He will come to from Jos, and it saves you the cost of going to Jos yourself to go out to his facility, and it saves the security and everything. And also, there's the question there are two questions that they're asking. How does the freezing work, doctor? Are the eggs collectively preserved or personally labeled to avoid it ups? I'm not sure, to avoid mixed ups. I think that's what Fatima is trying to ask. And then there's the one of parallel, doing both donor egg and using your eggs. Talk to us about that as we round up, because we have gone past our scheduled 1 hour 15
Okay, so
minutes.
thank you so much. I will personally look out for Sadia. I want to, yeah, so we'll talk for some more we have. So for the egg freezing, the eggs are retrieved from the ovaries after medications are given, are prepared, cleaned up, and frozen and properly labeled in a can just for you. Electricity is not what is used, it's liquid nitrogen, so NEPA doesn't fail it, okay? So it's liquid nitrogen. All you need is to top the supply of liquid nitrogen and can be frozen for a very long time. Okay, so usually in today's generation, mistakes are not acceptable. Yes, you can always find out whether it's your egg or not your egg. All you need to do is to do a DNA analysis. And DNA is all around us in Nigeria today, so you will know. So it cannot be mistaken when your eggs are labeled and kept and frozen. Okay, as for the parallel kind of IVF treatment, meaning using your own eggs and donor eggs, this decision actually comes in when an individual's egg are considered to be of low quality, and then the person is not intending to do IVF twice, wants to use one opportunity to do an IVF, and then wants to give herself the chance of using her own eggs for whatever reasons, okay? So in this case, her eggs are gotten, and a donor egg of good quality is also gotten. That's what you mean by parallel. So you fertilize both and you watch them develop differently. So you may pick good embryos from the donor egg and some good embryos from her own eggs, mix together and transfer into the woman's uterus. And so that's what we call the parallel IVF. All the intention is to improve your chance of getting pregnant at all costs with your own eggs or with the donor egg at the same time. That's what parallel IVF is all about.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Ken. Thank you, Sarah, too. Well, our time is fast spent, and I think people are happy to hear. If you are happy to hear that Dr. Ken is going to give us a discount still on the PRP or any procedure as you are coming to Abuja, please give us a thumbs up in the chat group just to encourage him now before the emails come. And don't forget to send an email. My team has posted it, spotlight@stalwartconsults.com. That will help us gather people together. So Dr. Ken, there you go. You're seeing your thumbs ups in the chat group. Many, many thumbs ups and all that. There you go. So that speaks to your passion. You see, you're passionate about Africa. You have, and Sarati is giving you a thumbs up. So I will be happy for both of you to work together. Both of you have impacted my life, and I hope that this has added value to the people who are listening to this call. We're going to post the webinar on our YouTube channel for those who are here. And also, I think the recording may be made available by email, but if not, you will get the link to our YouTube channel so that we can preach this education. And I hope that also you've hammered a lot on education, awareness, and we see that there's a huge gap. Maybe a survey on this issue, some research needs to go into it so that we have the numbers. But as we go along, I'm sure that we will get to talk some more and we'll get to make more impact. You from the medical field, Sarati from her development, field of development, and also to other people. So thank you very much. I don't know if in one sentence you have any final thoughts so that I don't have the last word. on this subject. If you have any final thoughts as we round up the webinar, and for those on the call, if you have any comments or feedback for our panelists, please type them on the call in the chat box so that they can see it and know if they've done a good job. Well, Sadia thank you for your comments for this webinar. Sadia is thankful. Jude and Co. So Saratu, let's start with you, and then Dr. Khan.
Okay, I think I would like to, on a final note, encourage everyone who is here that nothing is too late. The best way to work is just to believe in yourself, trust your mind, follow your instinct. It doesn't matter, even if something is 1% chance and and you can afford it, then I always advocate for you to go for it. Better late than never. Please be positive about it. Be positive about the outcome. Just do it, and then God will bless the outcome for you. So please, all the best.
Thank you, Saratu. Dr. Ken, final thoughts?
Thank you so much for having me on this platform. It's worthwhile discussing and being on the same platform with you, Saratu and Kate, and I hope to work closer and closer with you in some other issues as relating to the female health or fertility. Apologies for my voice. This is not how it sounds. I'm just recovering from a bad flu, and so it's been a battle struggling to talk. So I'm very sorry about the quality of voice, and thank you very much for me. I hope it benefits you all.
Thank you, Dr. Ken. We heard you loud and clear. That's the most important thing, and we heard the part of the discount. Very loud and clear. I'm sure the emails are coming in.
Please, I didn't hear the discount, so.
You see, this discount matter. Just send an email to our consultant. We will schedule it within the timeline. If Dr. Ken, at least you can tell us how soon you will be in Abuja for those of us in Abuja and those of us that can get to Abuja easily. If you can tell us how soon, I think, Dr. Ken, you can come as early as next week, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I went on a limb there, but it worked. So as early as next week, so you get the discount based on when he comes for next week. Like we said, it's a game of numbers. The higher the numbers, the better. And Saratu, I'm going to place a demand on Dr. Ken on your behalf because of the women that you work with, and you really.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question, but no problem. Go ahead.
Stella, you wanted to ask a question. Did you put it in the chat?
Yes, I wanted, because a friend, I should chat it. Okay, no problem.
Put it in the chat box.
It was very simple. Yes, that I can just get immediate response.
Okay, what's the question?
Yes, a friend of mine can do this, but the problem is that she has fibroid.
I think I have to.
Okay, we just lost her, but I think she's talking about fibroid and the impact it has on fertility. We've lost her for a bit. Dr. Ken, can you speak to that so that when she watches the recording, she will get some answers?
Also, depending on the size and the location of the fibroid, that friend.
She's eager. Feedback from you.
Okay, you said she has fibroid, isn't it?
Yes, she has multiple fibroid, but they are not really big. But the doctor is saying that it should be cleared before she can go for IVF. But hearing this now, I think she's going to take this method. But the issue is that same fibroid, what will happen to them?
Okay.
It's advisable, actually, from what you've described, it's advisable for those fibroids to be operated and removed before she goes for fertility care, because fibroid doesn't just only impact IVF negatively, it impacts the life of a woman negatively, and it also impacts negatively the pregnancy processes itself. So if you mentioned multiple fibroids and no pregnancy, and she's seeking for IVF, I think it's wise enough to have an evaluation by a gynecologist, and then advise appropriately what should be done with that fibroid. But I'm tempted to say she may need an operation.
It's okay. Noted. Noted. Thank you, Kate. Thank
I
you.
think it's but doctor, it's more on a case-by-case basis, right? So
Sure. It's not
difficult to just
absolute.
give a recommendation until you see the specific case and you see what can happen. So
Okay.
please don't forget to send an email to spotlight@stalwartconsults.com, and we will see how we can get the help so that as many career women as possible can have their dream of having a family and also having their own children. Thank you very much, everyone. My team is going to be sharing, as you know, this webinar was brought to you by the Stalwart Group in partnership with Alps Hospital and Fertility Support Group. And there you go, you've heard them. We are a training and a consulting firm. We have upcoming trainings. Can you please share our upcoming trainings? We have upcoming trainings on mastering effective communication skills, both verbal and written, coming up from the 4th to the 8th of March. And we have soft skills for successful managers coming up on the 26th to the 29th of March. Are you sharing that? Those of you on the call, we will send you an email containing the upcoming 3 trainings. And we look forward to our next Spotlight webinar, which will be on the 19th of March as well. It will be a special webinar, International Women's Day webinars, where commemorating the International Women's Day. So thank you all. We've taken a lot of your time, but these are the upcoming trainings. You can just send an email to info@stalwartconsults.com and you will get all the information. You'll be registered for the upcoming trainings. Thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of this webinar. We are thankful that you came, and we look forward to seeing you on other webinars. Thank you to our panelists and our speakers. Thank you for your insights. We pray that you will continue to grow bigger and bigger in what you do and make more impact. God bless you all. Feel free to turn on your videos and your microphone, say hello to somebody. The webinar has officially come to an end. Okay, thank you, Ngozi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Warrior.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, I hope to see you. I hope you are coming for the retreat. We are retreats.
Yes,
okay,
I would.
We'll see
hopefully.
more.
Thank you, Fatima. Okay. Thank you, Afola Shade. Thank you. I see you. Thank you, Abdul Samad Folawiyo. Thank you, Afolarin. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Zainab Mohammed. Thank you, Paul. God bless you all. Have a lovely day.